Hello everybody and welcome back. ZDS here, bringing you episode 4, 3 of my Pokemon XD Gale Darkness Let's Play. So, I'm going to continue on with what I was talking about at the end of the last video in just a moment, but first I wanted to... Okay, hold on, I'm done. Okay, there we go. I'm not going to be using this at all until I get to Shadowlugia, because you do need it to get Shadowlugia. I already have a video on how to capture Shadowlugia. If you guys want to check that out, it's on my channel page. If you want to see, maybe I'll include it in the description. I don't know. I'll probably forget by the time I upload this. Anywho, what I was talking about in the last video, just kind of the general consensus of the Pokemon from Sword and Shield that I kind of like, kind of don't like. I might do a lightning round video about that later on. Oh, you don't have to follow Jovi here. The guy you're looking for is actually standing outside. So following Jovi's kind of pointless if you know where the guy is. You just have to go right outside. Although I remember when I was first playing the game, I got really confused as to where this guy was. And I threw something on the wall, too. Anyway. So like I was saying, Grapploct is just a fucking physically offensive version of Octillery, and it's a pure fighting type. They could have easily went the water fighting route to give it more of its own identity, but nope, they didn't. It would have been a lot better if they'd done that, too. I probably would have, might have suggested using it, because I don't like using pure fighting types as a general consensus here. Sinisty is stupid, but Poltegeist is okay. I actually like Poltegeist a little bit. It's got a really good special attack and special defense stat. Average everything else, but it is a very good special sweeper, so that's nothing bad. And as I mentioned, Hatterene is definitely one of my favorites from Sword and Shield. Just because, again, it's just like a Gardevoir, just really slow, and it's actually got lower base stat total than Gardevoir. Oh. But it has better overall stats than Gardevoir. It has better attack and defense, better special attack, but it has lower special defense, HP, and speed. But I love it. And then, of course, Grimmsnarl became one of, like, the biggest surprises for me, because I normally don't like 100% male Pokemon. It's kind of a weird thing with me. But Grimmsnarl, actually, I kind of grew attached to the guy. He's pretty fucking creepy looking, but he is the only dark fairy type in the game. And when I first saw Impidimp during some of the pre-release photos for Sword and Shield, I was assuming Impidimp was going to be its own thing. It wasn't going to evolve. But then when I saw it evolve into this fucker, I'm like, this is actually kind of badass. I didn't use it during my playthrough, though, if you guys didn't check that out. Again, product placement. Anyway. But he's got a damn good attack stat of 120, good HP stat, and a good special attack stat, although he doesn't need it. He doesn't even use it. If his defenses were a little better, he'd probably be a really fucking badass physical tank, but... Oh well. With his type combination of Fairy and Steel, or Fairy and Dark, there's really only one type that he doesn't do well against, and that's Steel types. But more specifically, Steel Fairy types. Because the combination, often the combination of a Dark and Fairy, it's unlike Ghost and Fairy. Ghost and Fairy has a perfect synergy where there are no Pokemon in the entire series that are resistant to the combination. Dark and Ghost are almost identical when it comes to types. The only difference is that Dark is neutral against normal instead of doing nothing. It is also not very effective against fighting, while Ghost is neutral. And then in the case of Ghost does nothing to normal types, where Dark does something. And then Ghost is neutral to fighting types, where Dark types are resistant to Dark types. Or fighting types are resistant to Dark types. So, overall they have very similar construction as type-wise guys. But really the only types that can give, the only type combination that can give Grimmsnarl's stab moves a really hard time are, the only Pokemon that can, are Mawile, Magearna, and Zacian, because they're the only Steel Fairy types. I'm probably missing someone out of that. Oh yeah, Klefki. Though Klefki's not an offensive one, so... But with immunity to Psychic and Dragon, and resistances to Ghost, and a quad resist to Dark type moves, it makes it a great user against those two types. And it is still effective against, you know, all that kind of shit, but whatever. Anyway, Grimmsnarl, like I said, was just kind of a unique surprise for me, because I thought Impotent was going to be completely forgettable. Now, Obstagoon, it is technically a new Pokemon. It is an evolution to a variant form from a previous game, and it definitely makes Linoon better. 100%. I'm not sure how good Obstagoon really is. I didn't really use one, because I kind of have this unwritten rule since X and Y came out that I try not to use past-gen Pokemon if they get an evolution in the current gen. Or that was more of a rule in Gen 4 for me, because I know I didn't use Gale for my first playthrough of Platinum. I didn't use Gale until like my 6th or 7th playthrough of Platinum. But anyway. And then you have Berserker, which is probably the worst Pokemon I've ever seen. It's a plain steel type that evolves from a Galarian Meowth. It is hideous as sin. It's got good attack and defense, but that's all it's got going for it. And even then, as far as pure steels go, it's got a base stat total of 440 for a fully evolved Pokemon. What the fuck? I don't even think Persian has a stat total that low. Does it? Let me see. Oh no, Persian's base stat total is also 440, but it's better distributed with a good speed stat. Plus it has the benefit of Technician, which gives it access to, you know, some low power moves that give it good utility. Then you have Cursula, which is kind of a very on-the-nose type of name and very hard to pronounce if you have a lisp like I do. The only reason it's hard is because I pronounce O's and U's when they're used in this fashion very similarly. So if I'm saying Corsula or Cursula, I have to physically alter the way I speak to say it properly. But Cursula is an excellent Pokemon. It is a very, very powerful special attacker. 145 is nothing to scoff at no matter what stat you're talking about. 145 special attack is at the same special attack stat as Chandelure, and it also has one of the highest special defenses in the game as a ghost type with a base special defense stat of 130, making it comparable to Pokemon like Dusclops and Dusknoir as far as special defense is concerned. There. So I know I've been kind of going off on a tangent here, but that's mostly because there's not much happening on the screen. Plus, I like talking about more interesting stuff when I'm playing a game. I just like talking. I said that already, didn't I? You'd think after that pause when I was doing the video stuff, I think it's because I'm not focusing so much. That's what it is. Because I mentioned a few videos ago that I can't really play a video game and talk at the same time. The reason is because I always play a video game while listening to music or watching videos. But if I'm looking at something else while I'm playing a game that I'm so used to playing over and over again, then perhaps I can break out with more enthusiasm and actually act like I care about this shit. Not that I don't, and just, you know. Oh, and real quick, he asks you to locate Surskit. Surskit, Trapinch, or Wooper. If you give him Trapinch, he will give you Meditite. If you give him Surskit, he will give you Shuckle. And if you give him Wooper, he will give you a Tyranitar, or Larvitar. So definitely the only one that's worth it is Larvitar. I mean, granted, nothing in the beach Pokespot is good. Okay. Alright, Captain Dancing Fool with your big-ass afro. Overcompensation much, you lanky motherfucker? I would like to be part of your posse, buddy, but the game says otherwise, so you gotta go. Okay, so back to what I was doing before, because I'm gonna get distracted if I don't. Yeah, Cursula definitely has a very good, definitely one of the better Pokemon in the game, finally giving Corsola an actual reason to exist outside of, you know, obligatory Generation 2 Pokemon that was cut from Generation 1. And then we have one of the other evolutions, Sirfetch'd, which I was very, very shocked they actually made an evolution for Farfetch'd. Now, granted, it's not base Cantonian Farfetch'd, it's Galarian Farfetch'd. Which I don't think... I think a lot of people predicted that we were going to eventually get form variants with their own evolutionary line. But I can tell you now, I sure didn't. And I was very pleasantly surprised that we got Surfetch'd. In fact, when I first saw Surfetch'd, I was confused because I thought that we were actually getting Farfetch'd, which is a normal flying type, a pure fighting type evolution, because they were announced Surfetch'd before they announced the Farfetch'd Galarian form. Although the method to obtain a Surfetch'd is fucking bullshit. You gotta get 3 critical hits and level up during the same battle. Now granted, yes, this fucker does have an item called the Stick, if you find it, which increases its critical hit ratio, and learns moves such as Slash and Leaf Blade, which have a high crit rate. But the thing about critical hits is that they deal double damage, meaning you have to fight something that can survive 3 hits of critical damage. Oh, and you also have to do it with while leveling up and also not killing yourself. I did it, but it was a pain in the ass. But definitely Surfetch'd is a breath of fresh air for the game. I'm glad that it was introduced. Then we have, if Berserker is the worst of the Galarian exclusive evolutions, the second man in that slot has to be Mr. Rhyme. First of all, I don't like Mr. Mime. I'm going to say that now. I have a very strong bias against that creepy bastard. Stat-wise, however, Mr. Mime is a very good Pokemon. Well, very good for Generation 1 standards, plus it does share the Psychic Fairy typing with Gardevoir and Hatterene, which gives it a few brownie points, I guess. You know, it's got 100 base special, 120 special defense, and 90 its speed. So it is a pretty decent special sweeper. But then you have Galarian Mr. Mime, which has 65 in both defenses, 90 in both, or 65 in both attack and defense, 90 in both special and special defense, and then 100 in speed. So it's the same speed, but it's slightly bulkier, has higher attack, and has lower everything else. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But then you have the real kicker, which is Mr. Rhyme, which is not only slower than both Mr. Mime forms, but it also has higher attack than them, for whatever reason, I don't know, and still has lower special defense than Cantonian Mr. Mime at only 100 instead of 120, and it only has 10 points of special attack above regular Mr. Mime, on top of the fact that it has a much worse typing of Ice and Psychic that is shared with Jinx, which Jinx itself has a higher speed and special attack stat than Mr. Rhyme does, and it is also a piece of poop Pokemon. They made Mr. Rhyme more balanced, and by doing so, made it a worse Pokemon than it could have been. Had they simply kept its stats, or just fuck it and say, not made Galarian Mr. Mime and just gave Mr. Mime a Galarian exclusive evolution, and then just went off of Mr. Mime's base stats, I could see a very good Pokemon in that scenario, but, unfortunately they wanted to go with a new form, and by changing around Mr. Mime's stats to being worse, even though it was the same total, by balancing him, and then they put it into... It's annoying. The only good side to the whole scenario is that regular Mime Jr. is still a thing, and I could take my Shiny Mime Jr. from my old game, bring it into Sword and Shield, and evolve it into Mr. Mime, Galarian, and Mr. Rhyme without having to grind for a shiny Mr. Rhyme. God, that sounded like a tongue twister waiting to happen. Okay, but enough about that. The last of the Generation 7 exclusive evolutions is Ooh, I almost said something wrong. Runerigus. Oh, I almost said something completely ass backwards from what I meant. So literally the only differences between Runerigus and Cofagrigus is Runerigus is half ground type. It has a different evolution method where it has to level up while taking 49 or more damage while at the Dusty Bowl. Okay, that is the uniquest and dumbest evolution method I've ever heard in my life, and I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the mythology behind the Pokemon. That doesn't change the fact that it is a retarded evolution method, and I wish it would die along with the rest of it. Anyway. But it has that. It also has its attack and special attack flipped from Cofagrigus. And it has a new ability, Wandering Spirit, which is technically not a new ability, it's literally the same ability, just a different name. If you don't know what Mummy does, for example, the Pokemon exchanges abilities with the Pokemon that is hit with a move that makes direct contact. That is the same description for Mummy as it is for Wandering Spirit. There's literally no difference. I don't even know why they made it a separate ability if it's just the same fucking thing. They could have given Runerigus a unique ability, but no, they just gave it the same ability with a different name. It's literally the same situation with Delibird where it has both Vital Spirit and fucking, what's the other one? Vital Spirit and, I can't remember. It's like, it has two abilities to prevent it from going to sleep. I don't get that. Then there's Alakream, or Alcremie rather, I keep calling it Alakream. Alcremie is a good specially defensive fairy type, with an okay move pool, but I'm not feeling it. You know, level up, it's meh, it's got grass moves, it's got psychic moves, it's got fairy moves, it's got a fighting move here and there, you know, it's got Mystic Fire, it's got Great Energy Ball, it's got the same shit that almost every other fairy type does, okay? It's not unique in the slightest except for its ludicrously, stupidly, idiotic, unique, unrelatable evolution method. Where the only way to evolve it is by spinning in a circle while having it hold a specific type of cream. And spinning in a circle for a certain amount of time. Oh my god. Use sweet item and spin. It's fucking lame. Okay? I'm just being clear here. That's fucking lame. There's like 20 different visual variants to it, but none of them are different except their appearance. I'm sorry, there's a reason I don't play games like that. It's because I don't care. I know a lot of people who don't care about that stuff. Then again, I know some that do. Phalanx, I believe, was wasted potential, personally. It's like... like in my video that I uploaded about it, it's like Dark Kirby's with war helmets. But it looks almost like it's a single centipede, but no, it's 6 separate Pokemon that are joined together as one. Which is fucking cool. And it is a pure fighting type, which is a major drawback. If it were a fighting steel type, I honestly don't mind, you know, having Lucario, Cobalion, and Zamazenta sharing a fucking type with this guy. Doesn't bother me, you know? Although it would kind of make the last point I said in my video of my top 10 favorite Pokemon kind of moot. But whatever, that's fine. That video's already got 1,000 views, it already did its due. Anyway. But, Phalanx was given a badass fucking unique move. Let me see what the fuck it's called again. I forgot. No Retreat, which boosts every stat it has by 1 stage, but prevents both it and the opponent from retreating. But still, like, you literally get a fucking hidden power, or an ancient power boost. You know, that's badass. That's all I'm gonna say. Pincurchin was a waste. It could have been an electric poison. Or an electric water. Or something unique. It has a sliding scale of stats with the exception of HP. It's very well balanced and everything, but it is slow as molasses and its HP is garbage. And its moveset consists of, like, water moves, electric moves. Why it doesn't have a water typing, I'll never know. And it's got like some bug, like a pin missile here and there. It's got Venoshock, Hex. It's got a damn good move pool for, you know, for what it is. But the rest of it just doesn't make any sense. Now, Frostmoth was probably one of the biggest disappointments for me because I've always wanted an ice bug type Pokemon. But if you guys don't know from some of my older ramblings, some of my videos, Frostmoth, while it does have immensely high special attack stat and an incredible fucking ability in ice scales, which means the Pokemon takes half damage from special moves, effectively doubling its special defense stat, to the same vein that Fur Coat works for Furfrou, with its defense stat, making this Pokemon incredibly specially bulky. Plus it getting access to a badass move in the form of Quiver Dance. There's one major thing holding this Pokemon back from being genuinely good, And the simple fact is that it does not have any defense at all against steel or fire types, which are its two biggest weaknesses. It has no ground moves, it has no fighting moves, it has no water moves, it has no rock moves, it has nothing. Its entire moveset ability type consists of ice moves, fairy moves, psychic moves, bug moves, grass moves, normal moves. That's it. None of those types are good against steel, and only psychic is neutral to fire. The other types don't do shit against fire. So this thing is literally dead weight if your opponent has a fire or a steel type, especially one that's specially bulky and is a physical attacker. Hell, this thing gets demolished by rock types. And it doesn't even have much of defense against those. I mean, God forbid your opponent sends out a fucking rock steel type, or even worse, sends out fucking Colossal, which completely negates Frostmoth's entire purpose in life. Because all it needs to do is do one fucking rock move, Frostmoth is dead, and there's nothing it can do about it. So absolutely 110 billion% mega wasted potential when it came to Frostmoth, because you could have given it at least a water move so that it has something to defend itself against fire and steel types with. Then you have Stonejourner, which is also a waste of potential. It has a massive HP stat of 100, a massive attack of 125, massive defense of 135, and a decent speed of 70, but its special attack and defense make this thing way frailer than it should be. It is a special defense stat of 20. Meaning that this thing will be easily knocked out even by special moves that are not very effective. I have literally been able to take a Pokemon that was 6 levels lower than it and use Hyper Voice on the fucker and knocked it out in one shot. 6 levels lower, Hyper Voice, not Stab, knocked it out in one shot. But that physical attack and defense is impressive. Just, I don't know. If you can get past that, you could probably use it for something good. Then there's, you know, Ice-Q, which is a generic ice type. Really? It's just a pure ice type, and we all know how bad those are. And its no ice form has really high speed, but low everything else, and its ice face, it's a really stupid gimmick, I think. Pokemon's Ice Head can take physical damage as a substitute, but the Pokemon also changes the Pokemon, but the attack also changes the Pokemon's appearance. Ice will be restored when it hails, so it's a very niche Pokemon. Nothing wrong with niches, it's just, I don't know. Then there's Indeedee, which is one of the very few Pokemon that has a stat difference based on its gender. The female version of Indeedee is more physically and specially defensive, whereas the male version is more physically and specially offensive. Which is weird, but neat, I guess. But it's a second normal type. It's about the same strength as Girafarig, and I do always prefer Girafarig because of design-wise. And it's got generic psychic Pokemon moves, you know, like Magical Leaf, Energy Ball. It's got Draining Kiss, Mystic Fire, you know. Nothing that sets it apart from any other psychic type. Now, Morpeko was okay. It's the Pikachu clone of the generation, naturally. But at least it's somewhat unique in the fact that it is a electric dark type, which is something we haven't seen before. So I definitely have to give it props on that for being something different than just a generic, oh, this thing is a Pikachu, but it's not a Pikachu, you know. Togedemaru was kind of like that. Pachirisu was definitely like that. It was only thanks to one guy that Pachirisu got notoriety in the first place. Plusle and Minun I like over that. I mean, I like all of them more than Pikachu except for Emolga. Simply because Emolga is a fucking troll. I will never forget my early days of Pokemon Black and White, where I was fighting off against Elisa, the gym leader of the Electric Gym in Nimbasa City, and her fucking Emolga kept double-teaming and paralyzing every fucking thing I had, and I had no ground types or rock coverage to fuck with her. I remember I had to go into the desert in Black and White 2 and grab a fucking Sandshrew and a Trapinch just to try to beat her. That was a pain. But Morpeko has good attack and speed, and it's got a unique electric dark typing, which gives it pretty good stat coverage, which is nice. It's got a powerful unique move in the form of Aura Wheel, which changes type depending on if it is in its full belly form or its hangry form. which is weird that that's a difference, but whatever. But that's the only thing that changes between the two. So basically, its ability is useless outside of using that move. And then there's Kufant and Kaparaja. Kufant is okay. Kaparaja is pretty badass. It's pretty powerful. I do like that it has sheer force by default. And it also has heavy metal, and it gets access to both Heat Crash and Heavy Slam. And if you don't know anything about heavy metal, it doubles the Pokemon's weight. And Kaparaja already weighs 1,400 pounds. So giving it access to a ability like heavy metal, which will double that to 3,000 pounds almost. Technically 2,866, but whatever. Doubling that to 2,800 pounds means that a much larger portion of the metagame can be hit with maximum damage from Heavy Slam and Heat Crash, which is cool. Plus, with its 130 attack and its 122 HP stat, it's not going to die pretty soon, but the 30 special or speed total and its, for some reason, 80 special attack, I feel like that could have been altered. Those kind of hold it back. But otherwise, Kaparaja is a pretty cool Pokemon. Then they have the fossils, which are all basically fucking jumbled, mumbled hybrids of whatever the fuck they were supposed to be. God knows what they were supposed to be. But Dracozolt, the Dragon Electric one, Arctozolt, the Ice Electric one, Dracovish, the Water Dragon, and Arctovish, the Water Ice. Arctovish being the worst of the four because of its terrible typing and more balanced stats. Typically, Pokemon that have a much more balanced stat structure are usually worse than those that specialize in 1 or 2 or 3 specific stats. But Arctovish does not have anything that really sets it apart from any other Water-Ice type. And there are quite a few, actually. Duraludon is fucking awesome. I do like anything that can go toe-to-toe with a Tyranitar just on its home turf and say, fuck you, I'm not budging. I like that. Definitely good special attacker. Not as strong as Tyranitar, naturally, but it is still pretty fucking powerful. Only 65 base stat lower than Tyranitar's. Though its special defense is so weak, you could probably blow on it and it would fall over. Then we have Dragapult, which is the pseudo-legendary for the Sword and Shield games, which is a Ghost Dragon type, which it's the only Ghost Dragon that's not Giratina, which I think is cool by itself. And unlike others, we had Dragonite, Salamence, Metagross, Tyranitar. All of them had their attack as their highest stat for a pseudo-legendary. Gen 5 introduced Hydreigon, which was special attack as its highest. And then 6 had Goodra, which was special defense. 7 had Kamoa, which was defense. And then finally we have the total amount, well, missing HP, with Dragapult having speed. Definitely good Pokemon, although because of its typing and its moveset not reflecting it, it's better as a special attacker despite the fact that it has higher physical attack. And then there's Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus, which are obviously legendaries, although the Crown Sword variant of Zamazenta, or Zacian, and the Crown Shield variant of Zamazenta are definitely not equal when it comes to what they can do, because the Shield form of Zamazenta, while being strong defensively, is not as strong offensively as Zacian, which basically means that Zacian walks all over Zamazenta in every single scenario. And of course, Eternatus's Eternamax form, which is not available in-game, has the highest total of any Pokemon ever with a base stat total of 1,125. Too bad we can't use it in-game. But anyway, so I am done rambling and talking your ear off for the next 30 minutes. So over the next... This is probably the only video I'm going to do tonight after this. After I'm done here, I'm going to PK Hex everybody in this fucking PC, especially my little Ralts, who will become one of my final party members. I will swap out Claydol for her. Beyond that, I don't know what else I'm going to do. Maybe I'll add Breloom to my team as well. But that will have to wait for next time, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any additional content, please leave your suggestions in the comment section down below, or on my Twitter page, @Zodyrus. Link will be in the description. And until next time, this has been ZDS, making YouTube for fun, one video at a time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good night, everybody.